From the moment we wake up, there are so many things pulling on our attention. Our notifications, social media feeds, our endless to-do list. And while mental stimulation is not bad, our fast-paced and technology-heavy lifestyle makes it incredibly easy to slip into a state of being overstimulated. I used to live in that mode. That was definitely me. I always felt like I was in a rush and needed to get more done and was addicted to stimulation. I'd find myself checking my phone purely out of habit. I always felt the need to have some kind of entertainment on, and I'd want food simply because I was craving another hit of stimulation. At some point, I noticed how frazzled my brain and body felt, and that things seemed to easily make me feel anxious and stressed and overwhelmed. And I realized my mind and body couldn't be calm even if I really wanted to be because of my environment and the way I was moving through the world. And since that realization, I've been able to eliminate so much of the constant stimulation, find way more balance, and feel so much better in my daily life. So in this video, I'm sharing what I did that really helped me. So stick around. Hi, and welcome back to the channel. If you are new around here, my name is Brianna, and around here we chat everything wellness, self-improvement, and closing the gap between where you are and where you want to be. So if that is something that interests you, then you should subscribe and stick around. Let's get into it. Over time, I've learned how much what's going on mentally can play into feeling overstimulated and how much different you can feel when you're able to reduce your mental clutter. So for me, I make sure to write down everything on my to-do list and things that just come to mind instead of trying to keep it all in my head. I make sure to put things in my calendar, and I keep up with certain routines that just help me keep my life more organized. And all of that helps reduce my mental load. And because my brain isn't having to constantly hold all of that, it feels so much calmer and clearer, and I find it so much easier to just stay focused. But the other part of this has been mind management. And by that I mean being able to be aware of my thoughts and consciously choose how I respond to them, even if that's barely acknowledging them, instead of letting my brain spiral and continue to go down thoughts that bring me unnecessary stress and worry and end up changing how I feel or putting me in a worse mood. So for example, my brain might have a thought like, wow, I have so much to do. And that might spiral into more thoughts like, okay, well, I need to do this and that. And when am I going to find time to do all of this? I don't have the time to do all of this. I don't feel like I can get all of this done, all the things I need to do. And now I feel really stressed and overwhelmed. Or I could catch my brain starting to go down that route, pause, and respond with something like, okay, no, actually, I have enough time and I am fully capable of getting all this done. And then I can take a deep breath and take that mindset on and move on. Or maybe I respond with something like, what do I actually need to do? I can write all that down and just focus on doing one thing at a time. It's going to be okay. Or I might just shift my focus to something else entirely. So much of our experience comes back to what's happening up here. And if we work on and practice having more control over what headspace and mindset we are letting ourselves be in, then we can completely change how we feel on a day-to-day basis. For most of my life, I was that go, go, go person, always rushing and living life at 1.5 speed and living with this sense of urgency and always feeling like I needed to get more done. But what came with that was a nervous system that was always revved up. I was always living in a low state of stress and tension, even when I didn't really realize it. So I literally slowed down. I started doing things at a slower, calmer pace. But what I found was more important than actually slowing down the actual movement of things was shifting my headspace, getting out of the headspace of rush and I need to do more and into a headspace of I have enough time, slowing down and calming my thoughts and my breath. I would remind myself to slow down, to breathe deeper, that I had enough time, and to shift back into a calmer headspace. And what was interesting was I found that doing things in rush mode versus being in a calmer and slower headspace didn't mean things took any longer to do. The only difference really was that instead of being a little frazzled and stressed, I ended up feeling more peaceful and calm, which would make me feel so much better throughout the day. This one is probably not surprising, but is definitely one of the more impactful changes I made, which is spending less time on and being way more intentional with technology. A few years ago, when I realized how overstimulated I was, I knew that I needed to really cut down the amount of time I was spending on technology, especially my phone. And so I just made a point to be on my phone and really any form of technology way less. But outside of just the quantity of time I spent on technology, I decided I really wanted to be way more intentional about my consumption and choosing to be on my phone and social media and watching TV way more mindfully and out of consciously choosing to, rather than just thoughtlessly or out of habit. And now, here and there, I'll go through periods of choosing to be on technology way less, either from just feeling like I need it or wanting to reset some habits. And right now, I have some goals that are a little on the extreme end. Like right now, my goal is to only go on social media one time per day in the afternoon after I'm done with work. And that is my one time to scroll and be on social media. I'm also aiming to only check text messages and emails a few times throughout the day rather than anytime I'm near my phone. And I've turned off pretty much all notifications except for my text messages and emails. And even if I don't stick with those perfectly, I have found that it's really helped me be on my phone way less and has helped me feel less scattered. I feel like my brain feels a little calmer and I feel like I'm wasting way less time, which I love. The other piece of this has not just been spending less time on technology, but consuming less information and input in general. We are currently living in a time of so much ease of access to information, and we could spend our entire day consuming new information. And more of us probably do that than we realize. And while having so much access to information now does come with great benefits, it also makes it incredibly easy to overdo it. And everyone's threshold is different, but I know I can tell and I can feel when I am intaking way too much information for me. And I've learned to just dial it back because constantly taking in information is a lot for your brain to process. And this goes for background noise too. Whether it's your TV or a podcast or music in the background, even if you aren't actively paying attention to it, some part of your brain is still having to process that. And our brains need space to breathe. And when we're constantly taking in external inputs, our brain does not have the time or space to actually process what's going on in our internal world, which is just like taking water and trying to pour it in an already full cup. So now for me, I try to just not always be consuming new information. I like to pay attention to how I feel and know when to dial it back. And I try to have moments of silence or really low input. So for example, I'll go on walks without listening to anything. Sometimes I'll have silent car rides. And more often than not, for background noise, I will choose very calm instrumental music. There are really so many ways you can go about decreasing this kind of stimulation, and you can go about it however you want. But for example, you could delete certain social media apps. You could have no consumption mornings. You could take silent drives home. Or maybe you pick a day each week where you have little to no input. Another piece of this has been learning how to actually be in the present moment far more often. As someone who tends to live in my head and in overthinking, it has helped me so much to work on this and is something I'm actually really prioritizing in my life right now. And I've noticed the more I'm able to be more present throughout the day, just the more relaxed my days feel. So instead of being all in my head and thinking about something that happened or things I need to do or wherever my brain might take me, I will catch myself and pull my attention and focus back to whatever is right in front of me. Noticing when my thoughts are starting to be elsewhere and really trying to pull my focus and attention back to whatever is right in front of me in my present moment. So for example, if I'm washing the dishes, I can bring my focus back to, well, how does it feel to be scrubbing the plate? How does the water temperature feel on my skin? How does my body feel in that moment? Even, what am I grateful for or what can I appreciate about that moment? Because that just brings me back to the present. Or as another example, I will have days where I have 8 hours of clients back to back to back. And in playing around with this, I've just noticed if I spend more time in my head anticipating the rest of my day, like anticipating all the work I still need to do, or the things I need to do after work, or the amount of clients I still have, or what they might need from me, or how much energy it's going to take, I end up feeling so drained. And then I can spend the day just counting down the sessions and feeling like I don't have the energy and just so ready to go home. But I've noticed if I keep my focus way more on the present and don't let myself start thinking about the future hours of my day, I don't feel any of that same heaviness, and I often actually end up feeling more energized. And lastly, there's the impact of my environment. Our environments impact how all of us feel, but for some of us, we're just way more sensitive to our environment, and I happen to fall into that camp. So I have just learned that I really feel so much more overstimulated in spaces that feel cluttered and messy and chaotic, and have learned to really keep up with a tidy and organized space because it makes me feel so much better. And with paying more attention to this, I've just learned to spend less time in places that make me feel overstimulated, and that I feel so much better when I make sure to spend time outside or in nature almost every day. Really decreasing the amount of stimulation in my life has made such a difference in how I feel on a daily basis, and has really helped me go from being this stressed and anxious girl to a pretty calm and joyful one. I started being more intentional about all of this about 5 years ago, and since then, I'll notice when the amount of stimulation starts to creep up. And when that happens, I'll just make little tweaks to help balance things back out again. So I hope these tips and my experience helps you. I hope you found this valuable and that this helps you get off the hamster wheel of constant stimulation. But thank you so much for being here. If you are looking to live a more intentional life, make sure to subscribe and stick around. Have a great day, and I hope to see you in another one. Bye.